Hello, everyone. Welcome to a 2021 NFL mock draft. My name is Brad Kelly, college football, NFL, and NFL draft analyst. You can follow my work at the Slant Route Substack and on Twitter at BradKelly17. Make sure everyone subscribes to this YouTube channel. We're going to be doing a lot of NFL draft content moving forward. Today is the first day of the NFL offseason for 18 teams. It's Black Monday. A lot of head coaching news has already come down. Doug Marrone has been fired from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Anthony Lynn from the Los Angeles Chargers. We're going to talk about some of those transitions. Adam Gase has also been fired from the New York Jets. We're going to talk about some of those transitions in this mock draft, as it's going to be a lot of quarterback talk and where those fits kind of work for head coaching candidates. So let's get right into it. The number one pick in the NFL draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars own it. Like I said, it's going to be a new regime coming in as far as the head coaching goes. Almost guaranteed they're going to take a quarterback. Typically, that's what happens with new head coaching hires. And luckily for them, there is a borderline generational quarterback available in Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. 3-year starter, a bunch of production, really high level of play, has great size, great mobility. I think we all know about Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be the number one pick in the draft, almost assuredly. Number two, the New York Jets. I have them taking Justin Fields out of Ohio State. There is some debate whether or not he or BYU Zach Wilson will be the number two quarterback taken. I think after Justin Fields, his performance against Clemson in the national semifinal, he's kind of throwing for 6 touchdown passes. He's kind of solidified himself as that number two quarterback. Number one quarterback coming out of high school, a 5-star recruit, also has really good size, great athlete for the position, can add stuff in the run game, can extend the play. Reminds a bit of Cam Newton coming out of Auburn. Number three, the Miami Dolphins, who own this pick from the Laramie Tunsil trade for the Houston Texans. I have them taking Penei Sewell from Oregon, the offensive tackle. Tua Tagovailoa was uninspiring as a rookie, but I think the more likely scenario is that the Dolphins try to build around him, get him better weapons and improve up front, and try to make his surroundings improve, and in turn, his play should improve as well. And as he gets more healthy and his hip recovers and gets to full strength, I think that's the more likely scenario than them passing on a chance of bringing in an elite offensive tackle prospect and instead bring another quarterback to compete with him with the same surroundings as what it was this year, basically. So number four is the Atlanta Falcons. I have them taking Zach Wilson of BYU, the quarterback, about 6'3", 210, has a great arm talent, can throw off platform. Reminds me a lot, kind of in the middle of an Aaron Rodgers in the type of his release, and a Marcus Mariota in the type of his release and his raw talents, I guess. So Matt Ryan is still under contract. He's definitely going to be the starter next year. Beyond that, there is a possibility that his dead cap could be cuttable for the Atlanta Falcons, but I think more likely than not, they use this top 5 pick to take a quarterback. Matt Ryan is a starter next year, and possibly Zach Wilson takes over after that. Number 5, the Cincinnati Bengals. With Penei Sewell already gone, I have them taking Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle from Northwestern. He opted out of this season, but last year he was one of the best tackles in college football. He had the best game against Chase Young out of any tackle that Chase Young faced. Really high-level traits. Some people think he might be a guard in the NFL because he doesn't have a ton of length in his arms, but as far as his talent goes, I think he's definitely going to be a tackle. The Bengals have already shown that they're willing to take a tackle prospect with shorter arms, and they took Jonah Williams. I think you take Rashawn Slater, and you have a lot better protection for former number 1 overall pick quarterback Joe Burrow. Number 6 is the Philadelphia Eagles. I have them taking Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU. There are a lot of good wide receiver prospects in this draft. I think Chase will be the first one off the board. Part of it is he opted out this year. He's healthy. He's younger than a Devontae Smith. He's younger than Jalen Waddle, who will also be options in the first round. He has better size than both of those, and his production was great when he was a sophomore. Had over 20 touchdowns catching passes from Joe Burrow on that LSU national championship team. The Eagles have invested in wide receiver. They've taken J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the second round. They took Jalen Reagor in the first round last year, but they just got to keep swinging until they hit that home run at the position, surround Jalen Hurts with enough weapons for him to create the formidable passing game for the Eagles offense. Number 7 is the Detroit Lions. I have them taking the before mentioned Devontae Smith, Wide receiver Kenny Golladay is a free agent. Wide receiver Marvin Jones is a free agent. I think they're going to be in the market for that position when the NFL draft happens. Devontae Smith is the favorite to win the Heisman right now. So he's obviously a great college football player. A little slim for the NFL, but I think that ball could eventually come. And his production is really unarguable. He was a leading receiver last year for Alabama when they had 4 likely first-round wide receivers on their team, and that production even went up this year in the likely Heisman Trophy season for him. Future first-round pick for sure. Number 8, the Carolina Panthers. I have them taking Trey Lands, quarterback from North Dakota State. The FCS didn't have a season this year, but North Dakota State, well, their conference, the Missouri Valley Conference, didn't have a season this year, but North Dakota State did play one showcase game. But for all intents and purposes, Trey Lance didn't have a season this year. In his one season as a starter, he was a redshirt freshman in 2019, had 28 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, some interceptable passes, some that bounce off defensive back's hands and stuff like that, but he did a great job of taking care of the football. North Dakota State went 15-0, won the national championship. Big, stout player, built like a Dak Prescott, has a big arm, great deep ball. There's going to be some development needed as a one-year starter at the FCS level, and I think the Panthers are in a great position with Teddy Bridgewater that he could start next season as Trey Lance holds a clipboard for a year, learns the NFL offense, and then eventually takes over as the starter. And that also lines up with Teddy Bridgewater's dead cap space plummeting to only $5 million if they were going to move on from him. Number 9, Denver Broncos. I have them taking Micah Parsons, linebacker from Penn State. In my opinion, the best linebacker prospect since Luke Kuechly. And you can look on my page. And I sat down with Micah Parsons and we watched this film against Minnesota in 2019 and talked about pretty much every play, so you can really get into the mind of him as well. And we watched every single defensive player. It was a really in-depth video. The Broncos need help on their front 7, and I've been told that the Broncos really like Micah Parsons and Alabama cornerback Patrick Surtain, who I also have going at number 10 to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys took Teron Diggs, corner from Alabama, last year in the 2nd round. They're going to need more depth on their back end. They allowed 34 touchdown passes this past season. So I have them taking Patrick Surtain out of Alabama, the son of Patrick Surtain Sr., 3-time Pro Bowl cornerback. Junior was the highest rated cornerback prospect of all time, according to 24/7 Sports, 5-star prospect, obviously, and has played really well this year for Alabama and has a great test later on in the national championship game a week from today against Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson of Ohio State. Number 11, the New York Giants. I have them taking Kyle Pitts, tight end from Florida. Now, I really like the Giants' weapons. I think they have a good wide receiver trio in Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, and Golden Tate. All of them are under contract for the next 2 years and beyond. Evan Ingram is their tight end, great talent. They have Saquon Barkley at running back. But I think adding Kyle Pitts, and they also have Dante Pettis, they picked up as a waiver claim this year, who's played well down the stretch of the season for them. I think adding Pitts, though, just adds a different dynamic as a Darren Waller type of tight end who could really, really become a matchup problem for defenses. And instead of them maybe taking a receiver, because they still need to surround Daniel Jones, they've invested a lot on the offensive line to fortify up front, but now they're working on the weapons around him. The thing about Kyle Pitts and his ability to be a matchup problem is you can have him and Evan Ingram on the field at the same time. Defenses are likely to bring in linebackers and safeties, but both of them have wide receiver ability. And he's just going to add a completely different dimension to the offense. And I think they could really, really take off in 2021 with his addition. Number 12, the San Francisco 49ers. I have them taking Jalen Waddle, wide receiver from Alabama. Through 4 games this season, Waddle was actually their leading receiver. He was beating out Devontae Smith as far as production goes. He's a 4.3, possible high 4.2 type of 40-time speed. And I think last year he didn't have great production, but his production on a per snap, per target basis was excellent. That continued this year, and he had more opportunities. Smaller, kind of similar height to Devontae Smith, but a little bit wider, definitely better vertical traits as well. Jalen Waddle should be a first-round pick. I think he might be the best wide receiver in the class. Number 13, Los Angeles Chargers. I have them taking Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle from Virginia Tech. Now, the Chargers found their franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert, but their offensive line was a mess throughout this pretty much second half of the season, but really the entire season. I think they need a fortified offensive tackle. Christian Darrisaw could do that. once you find your quarterback, now you got to find protection for him. The Chargers should focus on the offensive line in the first few rounds of the draft. 14, the Minnesota Vikings. I'm taking Kwity Paye, defensive end from Michigan, raised in Rhode Island. So I was actually able to coach against him in high school, and he was a beast back then, and he's even more of a beast now. The Vikings only finished with 23 sacks this past season, was 28th in the league. They have Danielle Hunter coming back, but they're still going to need someone else opposite of him after trading away Yannick Ngakoue to the Baltimore Ravens. I think Kwity Paye could come in and be a day one type of producer, really strong, heavy-handed pass rusher with great hips, just a freak athlete. Production was there early in this season. 15, the New England Patriots. I've been taking Caleb Farley, cornerback from Virginia Tech, another player who opted out of this past season because he knew he was going to be a first-round pick. As far as the Patriots go, J.C. Jackson is a restricted free agent this offseason, and so he's probably going to get a big contract, and Stephon Gilmore is only under contract for another year with the Patriots, and there have been rumors that they might trade him maybe even during the draft. So I think corner is kind of an underrated draft target for them. I've been told as well that they might focus on defensive back early on, which is a very typical Bill Belichick thing to do. Caleb Farley fits the system really well, great physical press man type of player. 16, the Arizona Cardinals. I am taking Jock, otherwise known as Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, linebacker from Notre Dame. Another type of kind of hybrid linebacker safety that they have with Isaiah Simmons, and they could really create some problems for offenses, and they need that second level and third level to be special in their division where they have to face Sean McVay and the LA Rams, Kyle Shanahan, and the San Francisco 49ers, and then just the straight talent that the Seattle Seahawks have with Russell Wilson and their great wide receivers. Just keep adding to that second level, add athletes, add hybrid type defenders, and give that defense answers. 17 is the Las Vegas Raiders. I have them taking Joseph Asai, defensive end, linebacker from Texas. They finished with just 21 sacks this year, I believe. They were 29th in the league. Which is obviously pretty poor. Max Crosby is their best pass rusher, but they need to continue to adding an edge presence on that defense. I think Asai is kind of a Gruden type of player as well, and a Mike Mayock type of player as well. I think they need to definitely go pass rush in the first round. 18, the Miami Dolphins. Now, already had them taking an offensive tackle at pick number 3. This is their pick that they own after going 10-6 this season. Kind of continuing with the theme that they need to build around Tua if that was going to be their plan entering the draft. Either taking a wide receiver, Kadarius Toney out of Florida, a slot kind of gadget, Swiss Army knife type of player, very explosive, runs extremely hard. I tell people that he's a mix of Deebo Samuel in the way he runs, but Tavon Austin in his traits as a runner. And I think when it comes to the Dolphins, and they're going to likely have Devontae Parker and Preston Williams as their outside receivers, they have Mike Gesicki in the tight end. They need that kind of slot, change direction, separate underneath, and be a special player. After the catch, I think Kadarius Toney is a perfect fit as far as fitting into their depth chart and the pieces of their offense. 19 is the Washington football team. Now, from here on out, it's just based on record. Obviously, these picks the order of them are going to change based on who wins in the playoffs. But from here on out, just based on the record. 19, the Washington football team. I've been taking Mac Jones, quarterback, Alabama, after Dwayne Haskins' saga has kind of come to an end in Washington. They're left with Alex Smith, potentially Kyle Allen, as a developmental backup, but I think they're going to be looking for a young potential franchise quarterback early in the draft. And Mac Jones from Alabama, Heisman finalist, has had great production this season. And I think he kind of fits the surgical, take care of the football, move the chain, stay ahead of the chain, stay on schedule type of offense, passing offense that the football team has kind of developed over the last couple of seasons. 20 is the Chicago Bears. I've been taking Rashad Bateman, wide receiver of Minnesota. Great size, great ball skills. I think he's a fluid route runner, really great on double moves, great along the boundary. The Bears are likely, I think, going to lose Allen Robinson, who's a free agent, and I would be shocked if he goes back to the Bears just because I think he's been frustrated with the quarterback play, and there's always kind of been rumors that he's been unhappy in Chicago, requesting trades and stuff like that. Rashad Bateman would be a natural replacement for Allen Robinson as far as his position goes and his skill set goes. 21, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is their pick they have from the Los Angeles Rams for the Jalen Ramsey trade. They took Trevor Lawrence at number 1 in this draft. in this mock draft. So I think from there on out, you need to build around him. I've been taking Wyatt Davis. Interior offensive lineman, plays guard for Ohio State, just a physically dominant player. They've invested some in their offensive tackles, high picks over the last few years. I think now they got to focus on improving that interior and just making sure that line is fortified. If you're going to bring in Trevor Lawrence at number one, you're going to make sure you can protect him as well. Make sure you prolong his career. Take an offensive lineman. Wyatt Davis is probably the best interior offensive lineman in the class. Number 22, the Indianapolis Colts. I have them taking J.C. Horn, cornerback from South Carolina. Had a really strong start to this season and then opted out as South Carolina kind of fell out of the SEC race. The Colts have had Kenny Moore and Rocky Sin give up passer ratings when targeted of in the high 90s this year. A lot of yards given up. I think they can improve at corner. Xavier Rhodes has been really good for them this year, but I think they can improve their depth and possibly the starter opposite of him moving forward. J.C. Horn can be a bump and run, press, cover two type of corner for the Colts. Number 23, the Cleveland Browns. I've been taking Zaven Collins, linebacker from Tulsa. Linebacker has probably been the Browns' biggest weakness this season. I think they're pretty good up front on the defensive line, and they have a lot of talent in the secondary. Now they got to figure out that second level. Zaven Collins from Tulsa won the Bronco Nagurski Award, best defensive player in college football. I think that'd be a really good fit. I think that's the position that the Browns want to target. Number 24, the Tennessee Titans. I've been taking Azeez Ojulari, defensive end, edge pass rusher from Georgia. Really bendy, explosive type of player. Really popped off the film against Cincinnati in the bowl game. And the Titans, I think he fits that Titans mold of a pass rusher, kind of similar to the Harold Landry type of mold. But other than Landry, the Titans really struggle when it comes to the pass rush. They were 30th in the NFL this season in sacks. If they're going to have a strong defense, then they need a better defense and need to improve on their pass rush. 25, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm taking Darian Kendrick, cornerback from Clemson. I think as far as their weapons goes, they're set. Obviously, with Tom Brady at quarterback, they're set. This could be a spot where Najee Harris gets drafted or Travis Etienne at running back. But I think after Ronald Jones had a productive year, that they're probably going to just continue to roll with him and possibly Leonard Fournette as a backup. But as far as their offensive line goes, a lot of veterans have had pretty solid production. That could also be an option. But ultimately, I think their biggest upgrades could be in the secondary. Darian Kendricks had a really strong season for Clemson, taking over the number one corner role from A.J. Terrell. Number 26, the Baltimore Ravens. I've been taking Chris Olave, wide receiver from Ohio State. The Ravens wide receiver corps really has one special talent on it, one plus talent on it, and Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. And other than him, it's kind of a lot of middling type of players that could definitely add a better wide receiver talent to their room to help Lamar Jackson, who really runs the passing offense through the tight ends and running backs. So they need some better production from wide receiver. Chris Olave at the end of the first round, I think is a perfect fit. A player who's a steady player, has strong hands, great route runner, three-level route runner, is always going to be open for them. 27, the New York Jets. This is the pick that they have from the Seattle Seahawks from the Jalen Adams trade. I have them taking Alex Leatherwood, offensive tackle from Alabama. Now, it's kind of the same thing that happened with Trevor Lawrence and the Jags in this draft. The Jets, they took Justin Fields at number 2. Now you got to make sure you can protect him. They have Mekhi Becton at left tackle. Now they could look for a right tackle. Alex Leatherwood played left tackle for Alabama, but did have practice experience at right tackle and had a season where he played right guard. So he does have some experience on the right side. There could be some transition there, a bit of a transition as far as getting more comfortable on the right side, but there is some college experience. And I think if you put Becton and Leatherwood, you have a really strong, young offensive tackle duo who is going to be, if you take a Leatherwood in the first round, you have him for 5 years, potentially 5 years, and you have Becton for at least 4 more. That's going to be a really good base to protect Justin Fields, who they took at number 2 in this mock draft. 28, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've been taking Kyle Trask, quarterback from Florida, the most productive passer in college football this year. But there are some arm strength limitations. However, that kind of fits what the Steelers have kind of built their passing offense to be this year with Ben Roethlisberger, kind of quick 3-step drop, quick game, get the ball out of your hands fast. That's kind of been their Steelers' bread and butter as far as their passing game goes this year. And I think that's an offense that Kyle Trask can run at a high level. Ben Roethlisberger's play is not quite what it used to be. Part of that is injuries over time. And I think Trask could be a potential future starter for them. If they're going to go quarterback early on, I think Trask is the quarterback who makes the most sense. Number 29, the New Orleans Saints. I've been taking Gregory Rousseau, a defensive lineman from Miami. The Saints have a strong defensive line, but it is a veteran front. I think they could use some extra pass rush as far as edge and interior goes. And I think Rousseau actually provides that as a interior and edge rusher. He had I think 16 or 15 sacks last year before opting out of this season. And a lot of those were from interior rushes. I think his physical profile is a huge man. He's like 6'6", 270, 275. He projects really well as a rusher who you can move around the defensive line. And that could be a really big weapon for the Saints, especially as their veteran defensive linemen get a bit old. Number 30, the Buffalo Bills. I've been taking Pat Freiermuth, tight end from Penn State. Had a great season this year as far as production goes. Great red zone presence. Proved that even when he was a sophomore for the Nittany Lions. The Bills don't have a lot of weaknesses, but they haven't gotten great production from Dawson Knox at tight end. They could improve there, and I think Freiermuth is a complete prospect. He's a great blocker. He has great size. There are some Rob Gronkowski comparisons floated out there, and obviously he's a great red zone threat and receiver as well. I think Pat Freiermuth should be a first-round pick. If the Bills get him this late in the process, I think that's a home run. Number 31, I have the Green Bay Packers picking there and taking Trevon Moehrig, safety from TCU. Now, the safety class is interesting because there isn't a elite prospect at the position, a slam dunk top 20 pick. But I think there's a lot of guys who could go from kind of 25 to 50, a big group of those safeties. And in this scenario, the Packers actually get the first pick at a safety in this mock draft. I think Moehrig is a player who has great size. He's over 6 feet tall. He's over 200 pounds, but also has good ball skills. Over 20 passes defended, I think 6 interceptions over the past 2 years. And a really rangy player, can fit the alley, just kind of an all-around strong safety presence for the Packers. And I think that's something that they're missing on their defense currently. And 32, the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm drafting in that spot. I hope they don't win the Super Bowl. No offense, Chiefs fans. You can see where my allegiances lie. I'm hoping for the Tampa Bay Bucks to get it done. But in this scenario, the 32 slot goes to the Kansas City Chiefs, where they would be drafting at 32 for the second straight year. I've been taking Creed Humphrey. He's a center for the Oklahoma Sooners. I think he also can project that guard, but I think he'd be better at center. The Chiefs' interior offensive line is a little uneasy as far as their projection goes next year. It also hasn't been great play from it this year either. Creed Humphrey, his ability to play center and possibly guard, I think should be a first-round pick as well. He's been a really productive player, a really high-level player for the Sooners for multiple years, starting as a freshman when he was surrounded by 4 seniors. So that's the first-round NFL mock draft, first one of the offseason as far as for over half of the league goes. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments section. Make sure you subscribe to this page. We're going to do a lot more of these, and you can see if you subscribe, a lot of film content on a ton of the players that I just mentioned, and even more is going to be coming. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it.